I just shut out the noise. I didn't watch any YouTube videos of people saying, quit your SMMA, and if you're not planning the day before, then pretty much set up for failure. So every night before I go to bed, I always plan pretty much my entire workday. Make sure you've got something in place that's going to give you a lot of direction, whether that means investing in some sort of mentorship, working with somebody. When you don't really have that game plan and structure in your business, you won't know what to really spend your time on.
What do you think separates the guys that succeed in this and the guys that fail? All right, everybody, I'm back with another podcast episode. This one is actually, I guess you could call it part 2 of a podcast because, funny enough, this guy actually reached out to me probably about 3, 4, 5 months ago, offered me to come on his podcast. I went on that podcast, we hit it off, we had a good time. And about a month-ish later, he actually decided to work with Catalyst. And since then, he'd gone from, making a couple grand a month with his agency, documenting the process on YouTube of road to hit 10K to, just a couple of weeks ago, closing over $15,000 in a single week.
So I signed 2 clients. That's like 15K had collected this month. So
This week.
this week, yeah, this week, that's crazy. That's even crazier, yeah.
So in this podcast, we're going to break down, first of all, his story so you guys can kind of understand what he went through, what he failed with in the past to get from where he was to where he is now. And then B, a couple key pieces of information that he implemented that was all the difference maker. So the whole goal with that is that if you just implement the few things that he's going to share with you guys in this podcast, you're going to be able to go from where he was, which was this struggling with, no real direction to, now onboarding as many clients as he could possibly handle. So the name's Audie here, but before we get into it, I guess the first question is, when we first met, you were still in school. So why did you even start this entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so just like you, actually, I started my first business in grade 11, and it was also dropshipping. I started a store called Med Legion. It was dropshipping pretty much men's fashion items, so you guys can actually search that on Instagram. You'll see my entire record there, but it was like bracelets, necklaces, jewelry. Lost about $500 in that. No regrets though, because I was always passionate about building something. At the end of the day though, it just came down to a lack of direction. So as you said, I was in university, and I started doing SMMA for a while, tried doing the whole med spa thing because I watched a Thomas Garnett video and it was a pretty popping niche. Then I went to Europe, pretty shut that agency down, came back. Then I started experimenting with AI automation agencies because that was the trend in that year. And I started seeing some traction. I started working with some local real estate agents to build them some AI chatbots for their website. But once again, AI was one of those things that one day you could have a pretty solid product that actually works. So I was building out chatbots for their websites. Next day, that's an automated service that somebody could buy for $50 per month. So why would they pay me the couple $1,000s? And then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm allowed to swear. I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to send SMMA again. And this time I started seeing traction. I'm like, I'm going to go 100% in. Started documenting my journey on YouTube as well to show people what it's like to build this type of business with 100% transparency. And I started seeing some traction once again. I signed a client for free though. It was a free trial client, just to kind of get my foot in the game. And then from there, I kind of scaled, got to about 3 clients, almost got about 4. So I was around that $5,000 to $8,000 per month. But then at the same time, just started burning down. That's what's going to happen when you're kind of floating around like a feather. And that's kind of what I always describe myself. I was just floating around without any real direction. And of course, when we had that podcast, I had a conversation with Dylan as well. And he was just saying things that I'm like, man, I wouldn't have thought about this business model in this way. Same as well as in the interview. And from there, I kind of hit him up and joined his program. And, everything just changed right after.
What was life like before you started?
Yeah, life before, as I said, I had the few clients for my SMMA. I was doing all sorts of things that just didn't make sense. So I was actually calling the leads, myself. I was spending a couple hours a day calling leads. First thing that Dylan actually told me when we hopped on a call together is, yeah, that's cool and all, but how do you plan on scaling that? And from there, I'm like, it's very true. I started dreading this entire business model because I had to wake up every day knowing that, okay, I've got to pick up the phone and talk to a bunch of people like some call center person. And yeah, essentially I was just floating around like a feather, no real direction. I woke up, I didn't really know how to manage my time because there's so many things to do, so many different things I need to do. But when you don't really have that game plan and structure in your business, you won't know what to really spend your time on. So yes, I had, a few different things to manage, but at the same time, it was just like, fuck, I don't really know what to do here. So that's kind of what life was like for sure.
So the life that you've described is, at least from what I've heard and what I hear from people every single day, is very, 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 very calm.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, some people will start their agency and let's say 10% of them, they get the first couple of clients and then begin to burn out and life's a living mess. Why did you decide to do something about it?
Yeah. So
like, why did you not, I guess, and to answer that, sorry to cut you off there, but why didn't you just shut it down that?
For me, in my head, you know that Arnold quote? It's like, there's no plan B or something like that. It's one thing to really just say that, I realize. It's one thing to just say, oh yeah, put that on your wall, no plan B, you know, just focus on what's in front of you. But to truly internalize it is like a whole different thing. So for me, I was lucky enough to really just internalize that, because I'm like, man, if it's not this, if it's not something where I'm running my own show, like I wasn't even focusing on the other option. So yes, I was completing my university degree. That was in my final year. So I was like, you know, let's just finish it off. But at the same time, you know, I just knew that I wanted something. I knew I needed to make this work, because I didn't want to do a corporate job, end up in banking or finance, something like that, because that's exactly where my would be right now if I did pursue this type of business model. So yeah, that's kind of why I decided to give it my 100%.
So when you did decide to go all in, I guess what were you most concerned about?
Yeah, definitely the success. You know, it's when you haven't really tasted the success, it's kind of almost hard to imagine. But I noticed one thing: as you start to like just start picking up on the small wins, and you start picking up a few different ones, that's when it starts to become like, okay, this thing has legs. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm like, you know, I started seeing that there was legs. You know, I knew that people would pay a few $1,000s for my service. I knew that because even when I first got started, that was happening. But at the same time, I knew that if I was just running my business the way I was before I really invested in some sort of mentorship, I knew that it was just destined to burn down, right? You saw like how my business was running when I first joined this program. You just saw the mess that was going on. And it's essentially like you wipe out that entire business model and you start fresh. You build it entirely new. And that's exactly what I did with you guys.
So what, like from your POV, what was the journey like over the last 3 to 4 or 5 months?
Yeah. So the journey over the past, 3, 4, 5 months, it was definitely filled with a lot of struggle. But once again, it's also, you kind of have to go through that process to get to the point that you want to get to. So when I say struggle, I mean, building a business isn't going to be easy. It's not like you're just going to be able to spend half an hour a day, just, scale to a different level. But it's struggle that I really wanted. I told myself going into this that I want to work those long hours. I want to go through those hard times. And that's exactly what it was like. I was going through it. I was signing clients. I was losing the initial clients that I signed on because my business was built on a weak foundation. So obviously those clients are going to, tell me to fuck off. But that's kind of what life was like. I was losing some clients. I was going through some struggles. But at the end of the day, one thing that I noticed is when we were kind of rebuilding it together, it was just built on such a strong foundation, meaning that it's actually a business. It's not just some Facebook lead generation agency that everybody runs, that anybody could really do by watching a quick YouTube video and generating some leads for their business. It was something that was actually the business with systems, foundations, all sorts of different things that are really, just put together.
I think I have my answer for you on this, but I'm not going to speak for you. But was there any specific moment or breakthrough strategy that you feel as though that you've implemented or we've implemented in the last 3-4 months that has had massive breakthrough and compound effect? For sure. I mean, I kind of feel like there's so many ways. Yeah. Starting off with the offer. I know you're a big offer guy, but a few different things. It just depends what area we're talking, right? If you're talking about foundations, then offer just completely changed the game. Once again, I was calling the leads. Just don't do that. If you guys are sitting there, don't spend hours on that doing that. Other thing was just paid outs, paid that up. So I would say offer and outs.
Offer and outs. That's what really it comes down to. Another thing I'll tell you about their program and Catalyst and everything. These guys, you guys know your Jeremy Miners and your Christos, but there's a guy named Noah Kent in this program as well. They're just an absolute wizard when it comes to sales. And obviously, so offer, paid ads, sales with like the 3 pillars of this business. And these guys have it so dialed in kind of every aspect of that where it's just insane. So I'm constantly hopping calls with them, learning, and it's just mind-blowing. So
I want to remember this, I don't know, probably a week or through. It was a few weeks before the floodgates began to open for you, and we had a call, and I think you were, some bad things have happened. I forget what it was, but there was, I think, a sequence of negative events that have occurred in your business. And I remember we just had like a 30-minute talk, and I was like, hey, the floodgates will open, and then once the floodgates will open, when it rains, it pours. And then the other thing I said to you was that, when you're at 5K a month, 100K a month, whatever the case may be, generally speaking, the feeling doesn't change. Yes, there's the high of the day when you close that client or when you first hit that 5, 15, 20, 100K a month. So I would like to know from you now, like now given where you are, like how do you actually feel?
You're right. I've never said the same. It's not like, nothing feels different. I collected, I don't know, we're saying like 10, 15, but I ended up signing another client to that ended up being about $19,800 collected just this month. It feels no different than when I was just at the 3 clients myself. They were paying monthly retainers for $1,600 USD. So yeah, that's 100% right. It's just, as right now, I'm just focused on scaling and how I could increase those numbers to $50,000 in January.
What are you most proud about?
Most proud about it? Oh, that's a big question there. Most proud about it. I'd say 2 things. First of all, making that choice to kind of invest in some sort of mentorship and just, get that guidance in the first place, because that's a big step. It's not easy. There's so many guys, we were having a chat about this earlier today. There's so many guys out there, you guys watching, if you're in the SMMA space and agency space, you probably see 10 ads a day from all these different guys saying, I'm going to build you X, Y, and Z, and I'll get you to 20 clients per month. If not, I'm going to refund you. There's a billion of those guys, right? And if you search them on Reddit, you're going to see X, Y, and Z, right? You're going to read what actually happened once you join that program. And so I'm definitely very proud that, I invested in that program. Secondly, it's also just going 100% in, because I know I get so many DMs a day for people that have seen my videos and they're like, how do I get started? I'm managing this, like, should I start my SMMA? And it's like, if you're going into it with that mindset where you're just like kind of in, kind of out, should I try it? Then it's going to end a certain way. Whereas this time when I fully pursued it, I'm like, there's no other option. I'm going 100% in. So that's definitely my proud about.
What did surprise you the most?
What has surprised me the most? Yeah, 100%. I'd say a few weeks ago when I was on a call and it was a business making $1 million a year. And I'm walking them through my services and everything that I offer and everything that I've built as part of my business. And, they're like, we want your hump to get to $2 million, $3 million a year. Just hearing that, like, hearing that, like, there's a business out there that wants my hump to get them to $2 million a year, make an extra $1 million a year, investing about $10,000 per month in just ad spend. Yeah. Like, that's crazy, And then at the same time, like, that was a client we invoiced for about $6,800. Obviously, this one was cut up into retainers, but they're going to end up paying me $6,800 USD just throughout the course of working together. And that's crazy to think that I've got a product upfront, exactly. And I've got a product that's worth that much, So
what advice would the current version of you give to the version of you a year ago, or 12 months, or 8 months ago, or whatever you first kind of started in this?
For sure. So there's a few different things. I'd say definitely make sure you've got something in place that's going to give you a lot of direction, whether that means investing in some sort of mentorship, working with somebody who's just in a better position than you, right? Because in the SMMA space, there's so many guys. If you're just kind of building it, watching a few different YouTube videos, you're not going to get all that information. It's going to be pretty difficult, to be honest, because there's a billion different things that you have to do, a billion different ways you could run that model. So that's going to be one thing. The second thing is acquisition channels. I was doing things that were so inefficient when I first got started. When I first got started with cold DMs, I was picking up the phone and typing DMs and sending. And then I built up that entire system to send a few hundred DMs every single day. But essentially what I'm trying to say is do something that's automated, whether it's paid ads in terms of acquisition. Once again, doing paid ads in a certain way is going to take a different strategy. Not just everybody could, run it the way we are right now. But acquisition channels, just make sure you have something that's doing enough outreach, make sure everything's systemized, and don't waste time on those little tasks that don't require too much attention.
Do you have any habits or routines?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say, wake up one time. I usually wake up not too early. I know you guys are 5:30 type of people, but Wake up around, 7:15, whatnot, go to the gym. And it's not even about waking up and going to the gym. It's more like I wake up, I go to the gym, I come back and I just do my work until, night. It's more like the routine. As soon as I kind of like get out of that routine and I just kind of floating around the feather once again, that's when it starts to go down. Another thing is that I wasn't actually doing before I joined this program. And this is one thing that Noah always mentions on the calls is if you're not planning the day before, then you're pretty much set up for failure. So every night before I go to bed, I always plan pretty much my entire workday, just in the calendar, putting down everything that I really have to do. That's changed the game as well.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
And sweet. I actually don't do that either. I actually don't even do that. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, what do I got today? Have you had to deal with much imposter syndrome and self-doubt? And if so, how have you overcome it?
For sure. Yeah. So, I was facing that a lot. One of the things, like when I first got started, like when I started my SMMA, business, seriously, you guys can actually go on my channel to see 11 minutes ago, starting an SMMA from scratch as a complete beginner, episode 1. And I'm building out foundations on a Figma board and going through everything. That's one of the things, like at that point, I was still like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. You're just kind of filled with fear and anxiety because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, yes, you've seen people succeeding in that space. And then at the same time, when you're looking at all these people, it's like, what is this guy doing that I can't do? So one of the things that, at that time, I was just, I was definitely just faced with kind of like all sorts of fears and doubts, and I didn't really know what to do. Even when you're kind of signing on clients, you're going to have that fear. You're going to have that fear that service delivery-wise, you might not be able to fulfill, but it's just about changing all that. Now, when I sign on a client, I'm like, 100% I'm going to add value to them. I'm not just going to scam them because I want to take their money. It's more like I know I provide value, and that's what I'm going to provide for these people.
With that, kind of add on to that is, what drives you to keep pushing forward even on the toughest days?
Yeah, it's just, it's a really good question. What drives me is pretty much just getting those messages from my clients. Sometimes I sign on clients, especially recently, and they're like, man, we're so excited. It's like a new chapter in our business. We're so excited to see these type of results, whatever. And that's what I think does it for me. When I see these businesses getting good results, that's kind of what gives me most happiness. For one of my previous clients, we were packing their calendars. These are just two guys running business, and I kind of started working with them from the marketing side, and we grew it together. And that's what really gave me the happiness when I was working in this space, because there's so many different things. But at the end of the day, it's just like, I know that the more clients I sign, the more results we're going to get, and the better we're going to lead people up.
What do you think separates the guys that succeed in this and the guys that fail? For sure.
The guys that fail, because, I've been in that space many times too, it just goes back to if you're all in or not. For me, there's been many times where I pursued a business model, whether it's drop shipping or commission agencies. I wasn't all in. If I was to seriously ask myself, were you all in? I would probably say no. Because once again, you're filled with so much fear, you're filled with so many doubts. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't truly visualize that version of yourself that's making the $20,000 per month, $50,000 per month. And that becomes a bit difficult. But as soon as you kind of, just tell yourself, hey, I'm going to go 100% in. I'm only going to focus on the reality that's going to come out of this business and the success that I'm going to get, rather than, oh, what's going to happen if I don't make it? What if I end up losing this much money? That's what I would tell myself. Go 100% in. Just don't, try your best not to focus on that reality of it going the way you didn't want it to.
How do you think this journey has changed you as a person?
Man, big time. It's crazy because now, it's interesting. I was used to write in my journals and everything. I can't wait for that moment where I'm making $10,000 per month or anything higher. And I've been writing this for so long. And, I almost got there with the retainer clients, about $8,000 per month. But I didn't get there. You just started recording down. I was at the three client at that point. And, now I'm kind of at that point where I've collected this much per month. Right now, about $19,800. Next month, hopefully it'll be more. So it definitely changes you so much, because now I'm just focused on scaling. I'm focused on, how can I build a business that actually helps other people out, rather than the majority of these other agencies that are just focused on collecting some quick cash from somebody, even if they don't think they could help them. How can I improve my service delivery? How can I create a new service that actually works? So that's definitely one of the things, and it also changes your identity big time. Throughout these past 5 months, I feel like I've grown so much where the way, like the day I hopped on a call with you, I feel like I was filled with a lot of fear and doubts and everything like that. And I'm sure you could have sensed that from our call.
Yeah.
Now I feel like that's definitely going to change, and it's a different story now. So
what's the best piece of advice that you've received as an entrepreneur?
Best piece of advice that I've received as an entrepreneur, definitely related to scalability. Like especially this type of business, I feel like it's going to be one of the most important things. I was really just focused on building it in a way that wasn't scalable. And I know I'm hopping on conversations with you guys and just learning a bit more. You're very much focused on like, okay, what's repeatable, what's scalable, what could you delegate, what could you automate, but what could you, like while doing all that and still building something that's actually a quality product and a quality service. So that's definitely one of the biggest things, because once again, a lot of people nowadays are just building an agency that's built on a weak foundation. What was that statistic you were saying today? Like what % of agencies burned down?
Yeah, well, that's
60% or something.
Yeah, like 50, well, probably more than that. Like 60% of agencies don't make it past year one.
Exactly. So
higher. That was just a guess based on what I've seen.
And it makes sense though.
Yeah, check me on that.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I could totally see if I was continuing the way that was, 100% the business would have shut down. 100% the business would have burned down. I don't know what I would be pursuing. If it'd be growth operating or something else, because that's also another thing I'll tell you guys. When I was fully pursuing this business model, I just shut out the noise. I didn't watch any YouTube videos of people saying, quit your SMMA and start a growth operating agency, or, quit it for Amazon FBA. I didn't listen to any of that. I fully shut out all that noise, and I'm just like...
These videos rip on YouTube.
Exactly.
It just tells me to quit SMMA, and then all of a sudden, like...
I think I put that in the headline for our podcast. But, there's a reason for that. But the idea is that you just got to shut out the noise and understand that everybody's going to have their own opinion. Everybody's going to have their own take. You just have to, if you're going to pursue it fully and just shove other things.
So then with that, what's the best piece of advice that you could give somebody else?
Yeah, definitely that. So if you guys are trying to start some sort of business in the agency space, I definitely say if you're going to do it 100%. Cut out all the noise. Don't listen to these guys trying to tell you to start a growth operating agency or one of these other business models that were out there. Because that's how I started AI automation agencies, because I'm like, SMMA didn't work for me. I bought Iman Ghazi's course in 2017 or 2019, and it didn't work out. So maybe I should try an AI automation agency, and that didn't work. So if I just kept jumping around instead of just being like, man, let's be real. I've always started coming back to the SMMA space because I've enjoyed it. It's a service-based business. It works. There's a proven roadmap. I know people personally like these guys, but also others that are succeeding in it. And yeah, essentially just goes back to pursuing it with 100% focus and shutting out all the noise.
Alrighty. Yeah. I appreciate your time there.
Yeah, I appreciate having me on.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you guys got 10 times the value in comparison to the time that you invested watching it. If you have any questions or comments about this, just leave a comment below and I will personally jump in there, respond there, and help you out. Other than that, wish you guys the absolute best with your business, and I'll see you guys in the next video.